Today, I'm going to give feminists a helping hand. You see, they are always looking for stuff going on in the video game world where something happens to women that doesn't happen to men, or doesn't happen as much to men. They are always desperate, it seems, to share examples of this kind of discrimination. But a lot of the time, their claims fall flat, or aren't quite right, or misrepresent the situation, or show a lack of understanding of gaming culture, and so on. Today though, like I said, I'm gonna help them out. I think I've found something legitimate. And it's something where you might be able to hold the people doing it accountable because they are funded by taxpayers. I'm talking about the BBC and their coverage of women in gaming, and in particular, the struggles they face. Back in February this year, BBC Three published a video called "The Dark Side of Gaming: The Females Fighting Back." And now just yesterday, an article entitled 100 Women 2016, The Women Challenging Sexism in Esports was published on the main BBC News website. As I'm sure you can guess, both of these have a lot in common. They both include the whole gaming is terrible for women because they get attacked thing and so on. The only real difference is that this new esport one, because it's about esports and not just gaming in general, it includes a sort of wage gap argument. If you're into games and you follow coverage of it and issues with it, you know what to expect. And it's not really worth me combing through. However, there is something else they have in common that I think most people who read the articles or watch the videos won't catch. Both times, the BBC left some of the female gamers involved feeling exploited. Both times they left female gamers unhappy with how their interviews were used. Underneath the video that BBC Three posted on YouTube back in February, you can see Hannah from Yogscast saying that important parts of what she said were cut out, and clearly showing displeasure that they'd done that. You'll also see Miss 5000 Watts, another of the gamers involved, explaining in more detail exactly what happened and why she's upset. She wrote, "I'm honestly disappointed with how this turned out. I was approached to speak about women in gaming as a whole, not to only talk about the negative side. Even during the interview, I was asked to give my positive experiences with being a gamer, as they didn't want this to be a one-sided thing. None of my positive comments about my community and the gaming community as a whole were included at all." The initial email that I received asking for an interview said, and I quote, "I'm working on a BBC Three documentary looking at the experiences of female gamers, how experiences are changing, and how the games themselves are changing." Nowhere in there does it say the program will be about the dark side of gaming. I never signed up to be some kind of warrior against sexism online. I was asked to talk about the experiences of women in gaming. On top of that, there's another comment underneath the video from a woman claiming to be the manager of a gaming venue that was featured in the video, expressing her upset too. People were very annoyed, both at the coverage itself and how they had clearly taken advantage of these people to push a narrative. It seems clear that these gamers gave a full picture, and then the BBC cut out the bits they didn't want to show so they could paint the picture they wanted to paint. And what did they do to address or acknowledge these complaints? Nothing that I can find. There's no note added underneath the video, there's no edit to the page on the BBC Three website. They got away with it. Now fast forward to today, and it looks like something similar has happened once again. As I showed you, there is a new article about the women in esports. It's very similar to the other one, saying female players can get a lot of attention, but also a lot of abuse. But this time, they only talked to two women, Julia and Steph. And guess what? Julia has taken to Twitter to say, "They twisted my words in BBC and cut off sentences to make it sound like they wanted it to." There you go, feminists. Sexism in gaming. Because I'm pretty sure that male gamers aren't used like this by the media. I can't think of any examples. Could be wrong, but I don't think I am. The funniest part is, doing this with someone's words to make it look like they're saying something they're not quite actually saying, or cutting out the other bits that provide further context, leads to people being upset with them, bringing the hate that this BBC article says is so bad for women. Julia, the gamer who said that her words were twisted, retweeted this. Someone saying, "Reading the Reddit thread, why the fuck are you blaming Secret and CLG Red when they were misquoted and used to force someone else's agenda?" Gamers are annoyed at the angle this article's pushing, so if Julia really was misrepresented, she should be angry as fuck. They've targeted her for being female and screwed her over. There is your sexism in gaming, folks. And all this is not even mentioning the second-hand hate being in such a shitty article will bring her. Some of the grammar is even screwed up in places. And originally, as we can see using an archive of the page, they said that Twitch was owned by YouTube, a competitor. The article is just trash in almost every possible way it could be trash. And as I showed you, this is not the first time this exact kind of garbage has come from the BBC. So, if you work there, if you're involved with any of this, my message to you is, stop it! Cut it out! Regardless of where you stand or what your position is in any sort of debate over sexism in gaming, doing anything like this kind of stuff when you're covering it is absolutely unacceptable. But, as usual, that's just another one of my harmful opinions.